So Rachel Reeves is considering something that's actually really, really good, an exit tax. Now, you know our channel is biased towards the left. We are open about that, but we're not partisan hacks. So we're generally pretty critical of the Labour Party, but we've always said if a party does something good, we'll talk about it. And this is one of those times. Rich people quitting the UK could be required to pay a 20% tax on their business assets as part of plans reportedly being considered by the Chancellor, Rachel Reeves. The Treasury has drawn up plans for a settling up charge on assets, a move that will bring the UK into line with most other G7 nations and raise a predicted £2 billion for the public coffers, according to the Times. While expat status does not provide an exemption from 20% capital gains tax on the sale of UK property and land valued at £6,000 or more, it does on the sale of some other assets, such as shares in many companies. Under the new plans, the 20% charge will be levied on the value of these assets when exiting the country. An exit tax is so important and something the left have been calling for. I mean, there's a form of it in Spain, and I call it the Polanski effect. Now, of course, he isn't the only one calling for wealth taxes, but his polling has scared Labour into doing something. Labour would not be touching this if the Greens weren't polling these numbers. The latest poll, 17%, number 2. There's been a huge momentum with the Green Party, and I think the Labour Party are scared. This is how you shift the Overton window. Now, what's really funny is those attacking Rachel Reeves, including Robert Jenrick, who said this: "It seems Reeves is eyeing up an exit tax. This would see wealth and wealth creators sprint for the door. Crazy. We need more entrepreneurs, not fewer. Reeves must rule out this latest desperate move." This guy is so dumb. I mean, that's the point of an exit tax, right? You can try and leave and we'll tax you. What's this guy talking about? If you do an exit tax, people are going to leave. Yeah, and then we tax them when they leave. Like, the point here is an incentive to keep people from leaving. Do you get that, right? People might be like, oh, actually, if we leave, we'll be taxed, or we'll stay. And many people have tried to make the same point, not realizing that you can't escape these taxes. Now, by the way, this is my view, but I think most people won't leave. The idea that people will uplift their entire lives and businesses, uplift their personal and professional connections because of a tax, I think is ridiculous, right? But even if they want to leave, let them leave. The point of wealth taxes is you can't escape them. Tax the assets, right? If people sell these assets, it will be sold to someone else. You can't take your assets with you. The reason why wealth taxes haven't been introduced is because they work. Now, the missing thing here from Reeves's policy is only doing an exit tax. You need a proper wealth tax the wealth in this country, and then also do an exit tax. But it's so funny watching the oligarch media descend into meltdown.
Penny on your income tax, but those with the broader shoulders already pay, the overwhelming majority of government spending. I think the issue here is you cannot make this place more and more unattractive for wealth creators, because they're the people who deliver economic growth. They're the people who create jobs, and it's telling that not only is inflation creeping up, but unemployment is creeping up. There's anemic growth, so all the key economic statistics are dreadful. And I think it's the ultimate indictment, Callum, is it not, that we have an exit tax? I grew up under a world where there was an Iron Curtain across Europe, and there was a Berlin Wall. There's a wall in Berlin, not to keep us out of this nirvana of communist hell, but to keep those people in. And if you have to create a massive financial disincentive for people to leave the UK, it's the ultimate proof of how unattractive the UK has become for people who want to leave. It's the financial equivalent, if you like, that Rachel Reeves is now talking about, of the Berlin Wall.
I have to say, these people are such greedy bastards. A 1p extra on income tax is nothing. Yet Gutsu Harry is saying, we can't have a 1p extra on income tax because we pay too much tax already. Now, a lot of people say, oh, we pay so much taxes in this country. This country pays a very low amount of taxes. I mean, compare us to many Northern European nations where income taxes for middle-class people sit at like 50%. And guess what? They're not moaning. They have world-class public services, many benefits that we don't get, a far better society to live and work in. Plus, the reason why the rich are paying more taxes is because they have more money. That's just how taxes work. But that's only income tax, right? What we're talking about is wealth. and wealth taxes. The explosion in inequality is due to the fact that people are getting stinking rich from passive income, from hoarding resources and making the rest of us pay for their wealth. Right? People are becoming multi-millionaires and billionaires, not through hard work, but through the accumulated capital they get from having the assets that appreciate in value over time. Now, Gutu and many others say, oh, we need to make this country attractive for business. Translation, right? What this means is they want a low wage, low regulation, and low tax country for business to milk us. It's simple Marxist class analysis. Big business and the workers have a diametrically opposing existence, right? Workers want to get paid as much as they can for as little work as possible, and businesses want as much profit whilst paying the lowest wage possible. So when people talk about making the UK more attractive for business, what they are saying is everyone must be poorly paid and must be miserable so business can rake in more profits. It's that simple. Now, people might be like, oh, surely it's more complicated than that. It's not, right? The oligarch media, the business owners will use complicated language to sound like it's more of an important point than it really is. It's very, very simple. They just want to make more money. Now, we need to stop putting authority on business leaders. One of the worst things about neoliberalism is making entrepreneurs, business owners, an authority figure on the economy. They're just pushing their own interests. Just like if a worker says, I want to be paid more, that doesn't make them an expert on the economy. And the rich are doing the same, but just in the other direction. They're simply saying, I want more profits. Yet neoliberalism has pushed this idea that they are experts. They have no clue about economics. The only experts on the economy are economists. Now, we're supposed to live in a democracy where people of this country matter, right? We're supposed to have a government that wants to make our lives better. But in doing so, it's always going to be in opposition to what big business wants. Now, let's be very, very clear. You'll hear this all the time. The rich do not create jobs. That is a lie. It's a neoliberal myth to convince us to worship the 1%. And I'm so fucking sick of the entire media and political class sucking up to the rich whilst we have children in poverty in the year 2025. Now, demand creates jobs. So if we don't have decent paying jobs, people won't have the money to spend to keep businesses open. Now, companies like Amazon, who pay little to no tax, pay people like shit, lay off workers for robots. How is that wealth creation? And what social value does Amazon create for society? People might say, Amazon, big company, creates jobs. Well, we have workers who literally piss in bottles because they're not allowed enough time to go to the toilet and they can barely pay rent. Now they're admitting that they want to lay off more workers for robots, and the fact that they've always paid little to no taxes. So again, what social value have they created? Is that wealth creation? The richer workers are, the more they can spend on non-essential commodities, which is actually great for small and medium-sized businesses. Now, we've had 45 years of Thatcher's neoliberalism. We've destroyed unions, cut taxes, and cut regulation. We've made policies that have been favourable to big business. And has that worked? I mean, look at your high street. What do you see? You see empty shops. You see left behind ghost towns. The only business you see are pound stretcher, super cheap junk chains, betting shops, and, maybe a Spoons. Is that the capitalism that we were all promised? Where's the vibrant market? I thought being favourable to the rich creates growth. And that's another thing. Guto in that video says businesses create growth. That doesn't make any sense. When you understand what growth actually is, saying businesses create growth is actually a nonsensical sentence. What kind of growth? Where does it go? Growth is a terrible measurement of the healthy economy. It's like checking your waist measurement without checking the length. Growth is just numbers on a spreadsheet. It doesn't tell you anything. Usually growth depends on corporate profits, right? But that's not always a good thing, especially when low wages factor into profits. And corporate profits can also mean consumer debt. So think of Klarna. Think of the buy it, pay now apps and companies. Think about, being in debt to banks. Growth will take those figures and add it to the total value. So on paper, the economy is doing better. But when you analyze it, a lot of growth hinges on people being poorer. A lot of growth hinges on people being in debt. Now, of course, obviously, a lot of people are in debt to the banks. But you obviously have your house and you have that asset. You might be in debt by £300,000. That adds to the growth figure. But you would say that's kind of normal. But it's getting worse because now we're having like Uber offer buy now, pay later on food. Do you think that's a signal of a healthy economy? Because I don't think so. What we need is a bottom-up, middle-out growth policy. So the economy grows, but it's the people that benefits. And the media also ignores state-led growth. The government can be a fantastic source for growth, infrastructure projects, create jobs, economic activity, and it can also boost the private sector. Now, we've made the economic argument, but let's talk about patriotism. I think this from Faiza Shaheen is brilliant on Question Time.
That most people have their roots in this country. They send their kids to a particular school. They don't want to leave like that. That evidence is just not there to support that argument. And what I would say, for those people that are looking to leave, one, pay your taxes on the way out. We need a new exit tax. And secondly, be patriotic. We talk about caring about being British in this country, care about this country getting better. It's only going to get better if we do something about wealth inequality, if we do something about raising more funds to improve our public services.
And it's very funny how the media, especially right-wing media such as GB News, talk about patriotism, talk about caring about Britain, but side with the wealthy over this country and the people in it every single time. If you want to leave instead of paying your fair share of taxes, right, you're not a patriot. You couldn't give a damn about this country. And if you cared, then you'd be happy to pay taxes. You'd be happy to pay more taxes to fund our NHS, to properly fund public services, and support more government spending on tackling homelessness and child poverty. Now, of course, look, you can fund it anyway without taxes, but you have to tax it back in the end anyway. Otherwise, policy of quantitative easing, eventually that can actually trickle up to the rich. Plus, the main point of taxes is to reduce inequality, control inflation, etc. But at the end of the day, you still have to pay your taxes. Now, of course, this is a policy being considered by Reeves. It's not been announced, and there's every possibility they'll drop it. I mean, Labour are scared of media pushback, and since they've taken money from multi-millionaires and billionaires, their donors won't be happy with this. It's why it's so important, and it's more important than ever, to support left-wing parties, such as the Greens. And the stay inside Labour and fight from within doesn't work, but external pressure does.